Hey, this is episode 6 of the first volume Warrior, and in this episode, I'll be talking about the first volume of Shaman King. So, without further ado, let's get right into it. So, let me start by quickly naming the main events of the story. First is the opening sequence where Oyamada meets Yo in the graveyard, and Oyamada sees a lot of ghosts. Then, Yo goes to school and just so happens to be in the same class as Oyamada. But later in the same chapter, there's the first fight, which is Yo plus Amidamaru against the gang. That fight was surprisingly enjoyable. Then the next thing is Amidamaru's and his best friend's backstory, which was also very well written. Also, right after this is when Amidamaru pretty much decides to make an alliance with Yo. Then the next thing that happens is the battle against the pain, and right after that is when Yo fuses with a boxer who is the mentor for the bully. So they fight, and because Yo is possessed, it's kind of like mentor versus student all over again. And after the fight, the bully realizes the error in his way and decides to change. Then there's Yo running into the building that was on fire and saving everyone. And at the end of that chapter, we also get shown the new and first real antagonist. Speaking of which, the remaining 2 or 3 chapters in this volume is just Yo's fight with the new antagonist, which actually, I'll tell you what I thought about it in a second. But that's pretty much all the events that happened in the first volume, so let me just do an epic transition to the next segment. So, now, I'll tell you what I personally thought was good about the entire volume. Firstly, I thought the author greatly understood how to explain the power system, as, at least for me, I was not ever confused about the power system, not even once. The author makes sure that the reader can easily understand the power system of Shaman King. Another good thing about the series is the paneling. What I mean by that is that you can understand everything that is happening. Each action is crystal clear, so you don't have to struggle understanding what is happening during the action scenes, which I really appreciate. As for other series, I have had to look at a page for a very long time and look at it from a variety of angles, and if it comes to that point, then usually I just give up and move on. But with Shaman King, there wasn't even a trace of that. Each action is crystal clear. Now, while spirits and possession isn't a very original concept, the way Shaman executes that concept is something I hadn't ever seen before. Like, before I started reading, I heard somewhere that Shaman King has ghosts and possessions, and I just assumed that the MC will be able to turn ghosts into weapons for him to use, kind of like Mahito from Jujutsu Kaisen, but also with the ability to turn them back and with no evil intentions. Or, the main character would use the ghost powers, use them as a suit or armor for him to use, so he would essentially be himself but with a buff. But when I started reading, I was quite surprised to see this quite unique take on this trope. Though, I'm gonna be honest, I didn't really like the concept. Like, I can appreciate the author innovating and doing their own unique and interesting take on the spirit possession trope, but I just didn't like it. I don't know why, but I guess I just subconsciously decided in my mind that it's going to be like an armor or a suit, and when that was completely wrong, I decided that my idea was better. Now, let me clarify. It's not that I don't like the way it's written. It's just that I personally didn't like it. It's not that deep. But wait, this was supposed to be the good section. I started rambling about something bad. Alright, anyways. I had only one good thing left to mention anyways, so I'll do it quickly so we can move on to the bad. The last good thing is the art. It is quite simple, you could say, but that's the art style you want when you know how to panel. The simplistic art is what helps the paneling. Those two really tie in with one another. I think the art was simple, but it was consistent. It wasn't trying to be over the top, it just did what it needed to do, and so it was consistently good slash simple. Alright, as I just said, this segment is going to be what was bad slash what I didn't like. Firstly, as I already said, it's the power system. It's not that it's bad, but I just didn't like it. But as I already talked about it, I'll move on to the next point, which is the characters. The characters were all pretty fucking boring looking back, but the only character that I kind of liked was Amidamaru, and a large portion for that is the fact that I really liked his backstory. I think that was really good, but apart from him, I didn't really like any other character. I suppose Yo was okay, but that's pretty much all. I think the characters overall, at least in the first volume, were one of the very few weak points. But the next bad thing is the world. Now, this once again is personal preference, but I think Shaman King as a story would have been so much more interesting in a fictional world. I think there could have been a lot more interesting concepts that could be used that just aren't possible in the real world. Though there could be just as many interesting ideas in the real world. So once again, this isn't something very big. That is a make or break deal for me. It's closer to a suggestion, I suppose, or what I think could have been better. Alright, so that's all for this video. If you enjoyed, please be sure to like and subscribe, and this was the 6th episode of the first volume Warrior, in which I read a random series as volume 1 and make a review on it. And in the next episode, I'll be talking about Black Torch. So once again, hope you enjoyed, and I hope to see you next time. See ya!